What's up guys, and welcome back to TechPlant. Today I'm going to show you a simple guide on how to take care of sundews, a carnivorous plant. Let's check it out. This general guide for sundews is going to work for almost all of them. I have a huge range of different kinds that grow in different conditions, but usually you can get away with growing them indoors relatively easy, so let's get to it. As our example plant, I'm going to show you my Drosera gromagolensis. This is my favorite one. I think it's the most beautiful and it just creates such a nice plant. Even though they appear rather exotic and hard to take care of, they are actually one of the simplest plants for me to take care of. The first item you're going to need to keep these things well and healthy is going to be a tray. I would find something that's at least an inch tall because it's going to hold a lot of water. Make sure whatever pot your plant is sitting in has holes in the bottom so it can absorb the water, and just set it in the center of the tray. Lastly, you're going to need distilled water. You cannot use anything else other than distilled water and rainwater, and you're just going to fill the bottom tray and keep it full at all times. That is the bare minimum or basics of keeping these alive. This is how all mine exist, and they have been doing just fine for many years. Now, to get more specific to make sure it lasts many years for you, I'm going to show you a few other tips that are extremely important. I have a few more propagations from my gromagolensis, and I can show you something very important about lighting. Here's our first specimen, and you can see this one is quite green and it has really long leaves, and the dew is kind of still white, or the little tentacle things, and overall it just looks very green. However, we can contrast that with this other one, which is very dark, very red, and the petals I would say are a little bit shorter and more compact. I would even say that there's a little more dew on each one of the little tentacles compared to the green one. These are both sitting in the same exact container and they both get fed at the exact same time, but the real big difference is where the light is concentrated. The very green one does not get nearly as much light as the very red one. So if you want your sundews to really thrive and turn that nice red color and get lots of dew, you need to give them a lot of light. Now, if you're like me and you keep them inside under lights, they still will catch some fungus gnats and other insects that you may have in your house, but it won't be that many, so you're going to have to feed your sundews. My personal favorite way is with Maxi. I just mix a little bit up into a gallon of water, and then I use a syringe, and I just pull some out of the gallon with the syringe, and I just place drops on the leaves. When doing this though, make sure none of it really gets into the actual substrate. This will kill your plant. Most sundews grow in very nutrient poor areas, so if you get a lot of nutrients or fertilizer in the actual substrate, it's going to choke them out and kill them. Now, some of the sundews out there, because there are tons of different kinds, which is why I love them so much, but they're going to be a little more difficult to feed with this method, so you can kind of transition over to a fish food method. So for anything with really thin leaves or just where the liquid does not sit on it nicely, you can use the tweezers and just apply little pieces of fish flakes, and that'll feed your plant just well too. Depending on your location though, it might be very humid, so make sure you watch how much food you actually put on the leaves, because if you put too much fish food, it'll start to mold and it could kill the leaf that it's sitting on. So kind of watch and pay attention and decide how much to give it after you kind of see your first observation. As far as how often to do this, I usually like to do it once a week if I want them to grow fast and flower a lot, but you can get away with like once a month or once every 2 months as long as you have really good light. Now, I want to quickly talk about potting or repotting. I'll make a dedicated video to that in the future, but most of you are probably going to end up buying an already potted one, so you don't have to worry about this step. However, if you see that your leaves like this one are starting to get this black brown stuff on the undersides when they're developing, this is from too much acid in your peat moss. So peat moss kind of gets very acidic and can slowly kill your plants. The black stuff you're seeing is called humic acid, and it's mostly just found in the peat moss, so I would definitely suggest using more of a sphagnum moss mix. Personally, a lot of mine grow really well on just sphagnum moss and a little bit of perlite, so I wouldn't worry about a peat mixture, but I'll go more over kind of repotting in another future video. This last tip is about light duration and dormancy. All my sundews sit under grow lights for 15 hours a day. If I were to suddenly change that cycle and make it shorter, it would put almost all my plants into dormancy and they would start to look like they're dying. The leaves would start to shrivel up and fall off and brown, and then you would see no new growth. I'm telling you this because I bet you a good percentage of new carnivorous plant owners don't realize they go into dormancy. They think their plant is dying and then they give up and throw it out. But don't give up, give it a few months and it will come back, I promise. Because there's a good chance that some of you are going to put this in the window where the sun cycles will affect your plant, or you just won't give it consistent light and it might go into dormancy. The moral of the story is, if it starts to look like it's dying, give it some time and it should spring back. And if you take all these tips to heart and you try and do them to the best of your ability, your plants are going to grow fast, and a lot of them are going to put out a ton of flowers, and you're going to get a ton of seeds, and you're going to be able to grow crazy amounts like I've got here. I've got so many darn seedlings in here, I don't even know what to do with them. Well guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you can see that these are actually really easy to take care of. Even though they look pretty exotic or like they would take special care, they're actually, for me, the easiest to take care of. They just sit under lights with a timer, keep the tub full of water, feed them once a month, and that's about it. They just keep on growing and they keep giving seeds. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this guide and I hope it helps you take care of your sundews. As always, may your plants grow strong and healthy. I'll see you next time.